why now was the time to start relooking at the PT test?
Yeah, great question. So I think one, it's important to understand that we're always, and I didn't know this until I started working in the building. You wouldn't know until you worked here, but we're always assessing our physical standards. And this is one the AFT, the changes. This is just one of many examples of the Army getting better every day. And so changing the PT test is not a new idea. We're always looking to get better. And this is kind of where we are right now. So over the last 18 months, we've been looking at the ACFT. We've got enough data over the last several years now that we can look and we can now look at all that data and evolve our standards and our fitness assessment into something that is more practical and more useful to our soldiers and our force.
Well, let's talk about that evolution, because if you go back, I don't know, I mean, I got out 8 years ago, 9 years ago now, and we were still doing the 3-event the Army physical fitness test, the APFT. So you have the push-ups, you have the sit-ups, and you have the 2-mile run.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, it evolved into the ACFT, the Army combat fitness test. And then now we have the Army fitness test. Talk about that evolution for a second, and how come it's gone from the 3 base exercises and then it went to 6, now it went to 5, and what's the thought process behind that?
Well, I think as the Army's matured, and especially during the GWOT, we learned a lot, right? The soft community and the resources for, all things physical grew. We brought in strength coaches. We brought in physical therapists. We got smart on the medicine side. We got smart on the diet side. So the Army realized, hey, our old PT test, it's a very good indicator of performance, but we need something a little more holistic. We need to be able to test more than just sit-ups, push-ups, and a 2-mile run. And really what we want to do is be able to measure on a broader spectrum. And so that's where the evolution of the ACFT began.
As we've seen the evolution of the fitness test go from the 3 exercises to 6 exercises to 5, now we dropped 1 from the Army combat fitness test. Can you talk for a second about why those changes were made and why the focus is now on these 5 exercises? And we can name them. We got them right here. The 3 repetition maximum deadlift, the hand release push-up, arm extension, the sprint drag carry, the plank, and the 2-mile run.
Yeah. So the 3 to the 5, like I said before, realizing that we need a soldier, and we're trying to create a soldier who is much more well-rounded, right? When I grew up in the Ranger Regiment, the young private, like SMA was talking about, it was right face and run as fast as you can. And that's really important. A lot of important stuff happens, right? You learn a lot about yourself, learn a lot about your team, you develop grit. But what we've realized, we've gotten smarter. And so we've realized with those changing the evolution of changing to the new events, and with a lot of research behind that, we've used a lot of resources to develop those. Now, in the practice of physical fitness across the world, there's a lot of things we could have picked, and nobody's arguing that. But we had to pick something, and these are the things that that the Army came with, all the work that we did, that we came up with. And what I really appreciate about this test, and why I think it's better, is because one of the aspects that a lot of times soldiers don't realize is doing well on each event is very important. You want to max those, you want to move beyond them. Those should always be your goals. But also your ability to recover in between them is really the true test of your fitness, right? Because the sprint drag carry, that thing's tough, right? And then you still got the plank, and you got to get that 2-mile run knocked out. And if you want to max both of those things, you got to be able to recover in between them. So I think that's where that's where the difference is. The test is better. And you only get about 4 minutes between each event. You get a 10-minute reset before the run. And we try to keep that close to those times as possible, because that's where the indicator of your fitness is your ability to recover in between those events. Now, the ball throw. We got rid of the ball throw really because measuring explosive strength is very important, and we're still looking at that. We'll figure something out. We can't measure everything, but measuring explosive strength is important. We thought the ball throw was going to do that for us, but we just had a lot of inconsistent data. And that's the first thing. And the second part of that is soldiers were spending a lot of time training for the test, specifically for the ball throw. It's very technique focused. And so you got soldiers running up and down the field, throwing the ball, trying to get the angle right, trying to make it go as far as possible, just from a technique perspective. So we didn't see the value in that. We decided to remove it.
The 4-minute interval is, I think, an interesting piece when you do talk about recovery, because I remember back to the 3 exercise test, and there was no specified interval, at least that I ever saw.
Yeah, it was getting long. I mean, I think that there was probably no more than 10 minutes, if
I
I'm
think that
remembering
sounds
correctly.
about right.
But it fluctuated, right? Because if you got in the front of the line, you knew that you were going to get more time on the backside. So there was ways to game it. So the idea, and still, when you have a lot of soldiers, it's not going to be perfect.
Like airborne school. I
But
remember like the PT test at airborne school was like 5 hours long.
yeah, it should. So the test should take an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So that requires, whoever the testers are, they've got to come up with a really strong plan so that they can get that entire formation through there within that time limit. And that's how we need them to do that the right way, because you don't want soldiers getting too much. You want them to get the right amount of rest in between those events, but otherwise you're not getting the result that you're looking for out of it.
Well, and if you think about replication of combat, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a go stop.
Yeah.
Very rarely are you as you said, popping on and doing running for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and SMA's point was very valid, right? You got to be able to get off the objective, and you got to be able to exfil. We still got to be able to do that.